number 11, Chris Hipkins.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My question is to the Minister of Education. Are reports that she intends to write to Christchurch schools within the next fortnight to begin the formal consultation process required to close or merge them correct? If so, what was the purpose of the open consultation process she began on the 13th of September?
The Honourable Heke Parata.
Mr. Speaker, in answer to the first part of the question, yes. In answer to the second, I made a deliberate decision to announce the proposals and give all 215 schools time to absorb the information before I started the formal consultation process for the much smaller group of schools who are directly affected in different ways. I don't resolve from that decision. Mr. Speaker, I'm committed to genuine consultation, and there have been no decisions made in advance of the full process. I have confidence that having these difficult conversations is in the best interests of the current and future learners of Canterbury and their families. I genuinely believe that we owe it to all students to build better education facilities than were there before.
Chris Hipkins.
Parliamentary question, Mr. Speaker. Who did she consult about the specific closures, mergers and consolidations proposed in her announcement of the 13th of September? Given the Directions for Educational Renewal in Greater Christchurch document makes it clear that consultation up to that point had been focused on, and I quote, the future of education from early childhood through to tertiary, in brackets, not the future of individual schools or services/facilities.
The Honourable Heke Parata.
Mr. Speaker, that is what this phase of the consultation is on.
Point of order, Chris Hipkins.
Mr. Speaker, my question was who did she consult?
I think I remember, who did she consult indeed? The question asked who did the Minister consult, given the statement made in a certain report that talked about consultation up to that point. And the question was asking who was involved in that consultation. The member can repeat his question if the Minister didn't hear it there. Chris Hipkins, repeat his question.
Who did she consult about the specific closures, mergers and consolidations proposed in her announcement of the 13th of September, given the Directions for Education Renewal in Greater Christchurch document makes it clear that consultation up to that point had been focused on, quote, the future of education from early childhood through to tertiary, brackets, not the future of individual schools or services/facilities, close bracket.
The Honourable Heke Parata.
Mr. Speaker, I've made it clear, so has the Ministry, and those documents do too, that we have been going through phases of consultation which have been becoming ever finer grained. So those consultations were at the very high level, the first lot in October. They led to directions for consultation, which was released in May, from which we got further submissions, and that has allowed us to put these proposals before these particular schools.
Point of order, Mr. Speaker.
Point of order, Chris Hipkins.
Mr. Speaker, I suspect you know what the point of order is. It was actually a relatively specific question. I know it was a long question, but it was quite specific about who did she consult.
I think that's the crucial thing. The question actually contains some quotes in it to identify the period of consultation that the member was referring to in his question. But the Minister still hasn't answered his question. Who did the only reference the Minister has made is consultations took place at a high level. But high level is not actually telling the House who she consulted. I mean, I think it's not unreasonable. The document says consultations took place. The question's asked, who did the Minister consult up to that point?
Well, point of order, Mr. Speaker. The point is that consultations taking place, as they're quoted in that document, relate to the particular consultations that took place. The member is, well, the consultations that took place were on the future of education in Christchurch, from which we drew up a document that then went to the kinds of facilities and options that would be desirable.
This is not really now a point of order. The Minister has acknowledged consultations took place on the broader issues involved, and the member asked who did the Minister consult in that. Now, that's not unreasonable to ask that, and ministers are accountable for who they consult. That's a very clear issue of accountability. It may be ministry officials, it may be school principals, anything, whatever happened is, but just high level is not really telling the House anything. The Honourable Heke.
Mr. Speaker, drawing from the information that arose through the over 700 submissions we received as a context, drawing from the data that has been collected by school assessments, drawing from ministry advice, these next set of proposals have been developed for consultation.
Point of order, Chris Hipkins.
Mr Speaker, I'll repeat only the first part of the question, but the first part of the question says, who did she consult about the specific closures, mergers and consolidations proposed in her announcement of the 13th of September? The Minister's had 3 goes, but still hasn't actually addressed that part of that question.
Order. I think the member has a legitimate grievance. The question, as he's boiled it down now, is exactly what he asked, and that is the substance of the question. Who did the Minister consult prior to the announcement of the release of a certain document to do with mergers and closures and whatever in Christchurch? Now, that is a fair question. Ministers are accountable for who they've consulted. And it's not unreasonable for the member to ask that, and so far we've not had any indication at all who the Minister consulted. The Honourable Hekia Parata.
Mr Speaker, to pedantically use that term consult then, consulted specific people. Well,
point of order, the Honourable Trevor Mallett.
Yeah, she just can't comment on your rulings like that.
Order.
She can't.
Order. The Speaker's actually trying to assist the House in obtaining information, and he doesn't need that sort of point of order interrupting. The Minister, I think, was about to give us some information. The Honourable Hekia Parata.
Mr Speaker, I consulted the submissions that had been submitted. I consulted with ministry staff, who in turn had consulted with ranges of individuals across the greater Christchurch, Waimakariri and Selwyn districts.
Chris Hipkins.
Question, Mr Speaker. Is she satisfied that a consultation timeframe of 5 to 6 weeks, as ministry officials have suggested, will be sufficient for students, parents, teachers and others in the community to have their say, particularly given it is likely to overlap both with school holidays and senior student exams? And if so, why?
The Honourable Hekia Parata.
Mr Speaker, the specifics of the details of consultation under the formal process will be advised to schools, who should be the first to know, and then I will take feedback from them.
Point of order, Chris Hipkins.
Mr Speaker, again, that wasn't actually my question.
See the member's point of order. The question actually asked whether the Minister considered 5 weeks was sufficient time for consultation, and that's the question that was asked, given when holidays and exams occur. That was the question asked. It's an opinion. There's no specific answer, but I would ask the Minister to try and answer it. The Honourable Hekia Parata.
Well, Mr Speaker, that presumes that the time period is accurate. And what I have said is that the specifics of the consultation process to be engaged in have to be advised to schools. And that is what is going to occur.
Chris Hipkins.
Mr Speaker.
Point of order, Chris.
Mr Speaker, I seek leave to table a document prepared by the Ministry of Education and circulated to schools summarising a meeting on the 20th of September that states that the Ministry's well, I won't quote exactly, but basically suggesting that the Minister's timeframe will be 5 to 6 weeks.
Leave us to table that document. Is there any objection? There is no objection. Supplementary question, Dr. Megan Woods.
Does the Minister have confidence that she has accurate and adequate demographic information on which to base her decisions, given the Ministry's own document, Directions for Educational Renewal in Greater Christchurch, states that at this stage it's difficult to tell how many families have moved permanently? If so, why?
The Honourable Hekia Parata.
Yes, Mr Speaker, I am confident of the Ministry's advice because that advice is set in particular times. So, for instance, roll projections for next year are set on the basis of a specific roll count at a specific time, in the knowledge that families move in and out and based on longer-term projections. So there is no one precise time at which everybody stays still, except for the 5-yearly census.
Dr. Megan Woods.
Supplementary. What specific data set or data sets are her proposals for closures, mergers and relocations of Christchurch schools under her plans based on?
The Honourable Heke Parata.
Mr Speaker, they're based on roll returns and roll projections, as well as from local information provided through Sarah, as well as some information that has been, thank you, and also from consultation.
Question of point of order, Chris Hipkins.
Mr Speaker, I seek leave to table source data provided by the Christchurch Press of the results of their online poll that
Order,
indicates...
is this a press clipping?
No, it's not available online, Mr Speaker.
It's not available. Order.
This is the source data of it that show that 80% of the respondents believe that the handling of this by the Minister, the situation by the Minister, has either been poor or very
Leave
poor.
is sought to table this document. Is there any objection? There is objection. Question number 12. Order. 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 Now that question is dealt with. I've called question number 12, Mark Mitchell.
Thank you, Mr Speaker.